Hey everyone, we're live, Moms in Real Estate. I'm Angela Fazio, and I have an amazing guest with me, Tina Caul. She has been in real estate for 20 years, and in the last 10 years, you've been in North Carolina, right?
Yep. We moved here 10 years ago.
10 years ago to North Carolina. I've got a lot of family in North Carolina. I was going to tell you yesterday, I talked to Tina yesterday when we were trying to get organized for everything. And I have uncles in North Carolina in King Tobaccoville that I don't even understand what he's talking about. I know he says something about a bucket. I got that. But no kidding.
It's hard. That was my challenge moving down here. I'm like, oh, the accents, because you don't want to be rude and be like, what? Can you say that again?
Yeah, I have a lot to say. I lived there for 4 years and I walked out of that state with a thick accent, moved to Illinois, got very made fun of for about a minute before I lost that accent. I lost it about a week.
Probably where we are in the Raleigh-Cary area, everybody's from somewhere else. So it's in fact, Cary, C-A-R-Y, they call it the containment area for relocated Yankees, if you can believe that. So we have, we don't really have thick accents here, which is nice.
You don't. And my mom lived in Cary for many years. She now lives in Jamestown. She still doesn't have an accent, thank the Lord. She's moving out here. We're going to save her from that so she doesn't get it.
Good.
So we have not done a Moms in Real Estate episode in about, I don't know, maybe almost a year.
Wow.
Nope, that's not true. A little less than a year. And I'm excited to pick it back up. To give some of you guys a background on why we do this show is we are really passionate about educating and encouraging and empowering women. The women, most of the women that I have on this show are passionate about many things, work for sure. And that's why I love it. I love to talk about your viewpoints and your experiences and what you do to stay fired up as a woman. So let's start talking. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I'm 41 now. I started real estate 20 years ago. So I was 21. I really didn't have another career. I was a waitress, a hostess, a college student, worked at just restaurants basically. So real estate, thankfully for me, was my first real career. And
very rare, by the way.
Yeah. So I was in college, didn't really know my direction. I knew I wasn't going to be some academic scholar. I wasn't going to be a brain surgeon. I just was kind of lost. And so my real estate agent at the time, I've been with my husband since I was 16, still with him today. And so we were buying our first home. And my real estate agent, Jill Bomarito at the time, basically said, you'd be great at this. You should try it. And she hounded me for 6 months. They paid for my license and the rest was history. I dropped out of college. I sold like 25 homes my first year and just kept going in that trajectory. And then, so that was 2001. 9/11 was my first day in real estate, if you could believe that too. So the market kind of crashed. It was a crazy time to be in real estate. 2006 hit, I lost half my income. So I was making at the time, which I thought was amazing because we came from a poor family, I was making about $125,000.
Yeah, amazing.
Right, which is great as a realtor. And I was, making more than anyone in my family. And the market crashed and I went down to 40 grand. And so it wasn't fun anymore. I was losing, we had bought a bigger home. We're spending more than we probably should have and didn't learn that lesson then. And so I was leaving real estate and thank God I bumped into one of the local superstars, Bellino Bide at the time. Here she was in her 60s and she was going to make $1 million that year. And so I just said to her, like, what are you doing differently? And she said, she was very abrupt, she said, Tina Caul, if you want to be successful in this business, you have to surround yourself with big thinkers. You have to read a ton of real estate books. You have to get yourself a coach. And, she gave me those 4 things. And I thought, my gosh, I don't have the money to hire a coach right now. So long and short of it, I prayed and prayed and prayed about it. And I went to the office to clean it out. And I opened up my file drawer and I was cleaning it all out. And it said, make $1 million selling real estate, hire this coaching company. And I'm like, and it said $2,000 a month. So what do? Crumple it up, throw it away. I don't know. Right? I'm trying to make my mortgage payment. And so the next day I'm again cleaning out my office. I am leaving real estate and I get an email. It says, join us at this action workshop, learn how to make $1 million. So I grabbed my broker at the time, because we were all, broker than we should have been, and 3 of the agents in the office, and we go to this action workshop, and there was like this room of people, and at the front, there were these agents that were part of the organization, and they all stood up and, my name is Jeff Glover, who's huge in the business now. I used to sell furniture, and now I'm making $400,000 a year, and I'm still surviving this crash. And I'm like, man. And then another gal, Michelle Sayward, stands up, who we're really great friends today. And she says she's making 250. I'm like, how are these agents doing it? Well, it must be the coaching. So then who do I bump into again? It's Bellino Bide. And I'm like, because she never told me who the coach was. But then I figured it out. I'm like, if you're coaching with them and you're making $1 million, I'm signing up. So I signed up for coaching immediately. Now I put it on my credit card. We could not afford it. Mm-hmm. I went home and convinced my husband that I didn't lose my mind, and he had to trust me on this. And the next year with that coach, my income went up to 120,000. They had taught me some key things, the 6 core things, time management, treat it like a business, lead gen, prospecting, which is a dirty word in the industry. Nobody likes to do it, but it's the reality is we have to have conversations with people. And so I remember when my coach first got on the coaching call, I lied for 2 months. I never told him I wasn't picking up the phone because I was nervous. I would,
that's funny.
I would sit at my desk getting ready to get going to begin, and I had the numbers, and I would just not do it. And so finally he said, when I role play with you, you're really good. So you're either lying or you're just, and I said, I'm lying. So the next day he said 2 calls, like 2 people. I need you to talk to, 1 for sale by owner and 1 expired. And I remember getting on the phone, and I started reading the script to the FSBO, and he answered the question. I read the second question. He answered it, and I hung up on him, and I went, this shit works. And so the rest is history. It really gave me my confidence. It allowed me to get better and better and better. It allowed me to create duplicatable activities that I could actually know exactly how much money I would make based on the amount of people that I talked to.
Life-changing, right?
Life-changing. Oh, yes. Life-changing. And so from there in 2008, my coach says, what's your big, hairy, audacious goal? I said, to get the heck out of Michigan because I don't like the snow.
Right.
And so she said, fine, what's the date? So we made a target date because you have to have goal has to have a date. And scared the crap out of me, but we worked towards that goal to be in North Carolina by September of 2009. We had gotten there July of 2009. And it was surreal. You're in a new market. You feel a little better because you've had a year of coaching, but you're still freaked out because you don't know how to get out of your neighborhood without GPS. And so it took 6 months to kind of get acclimated and put my little crown back on and feel confident. And we sold 2 homes the first 6-month period. And then we sold 36 homes the second 6-month period. And then it was 36, 52, 75. I got up to a peak of 130. My wheels were falling off with 1 assistant, my husband and me. And then I started to add a couple buyer agents. So I added a couple agents. We went up to 3 people, 170 transactions, 1.8 million or 1.6 million in GCI. And it was great. And so from there, I was getting burned out, and I said, well, maybe I'll start a team. I'll grow this thing and gain more leverage, because I realized having buyer agents took time off my plate, or it gave me more time back, right? And so now I have 11 agents. I still am producing 100 deals a year, and I'm just slowly kind of diminishing that and growing the team. Now we've had this pandemic, so who knows, I might have to stay in a little longer, but it is what it is. I love my job.
I'll tell you what, I never get sick of success stories because first of all, they remind me of the essential things that any successful person has. And you've mentioned them all. You have to have that drive not to fail, right? But at the same time, we're afraid we're going to fail because Brooke and I almost got out of the business the first year. We too partnered up in 2001. Yeah. And I'll tell you another element is that the accountability, right? The accountability and overcoming, being uncomfortable, being comfortable, being uncomfortable. It's never different. It's never different. Oh, like today we have this pandemic, right? It's a real thing. Don't get me wrong. I get it. I get that people are in hard spots and financial turmoil, but then why are some agents busy as heck?
Right.
And other ones are paralyzed.
Paralyzed. Yeah.
It's the same in every situation. It was, yes, it's your mindset. The funny thing is like you were scared to make those calls. Right. And when I teach people about prospecting, I say, why do you think prospecting is a bad word? All it is it is impossible for you to talk naturally to enough people to do the business you need to do. So you have to have a process and procedure. And that's what prospecting is. It's just process and procedure.
And, I changed my mindset. I say to myself every day, thank God the majority of realtors don't prospect. Thank God. Why? Because that gives me an opportunity to go in and dominate, right? So imagine I have 9,000 realtors in my market. I'm number 3 for production just this year. So if all 9,000 actually got on the phones and did what I did every day, I wouldn't be able to generate the income that I have and the blessings that I can give my family now because I decided to take the risk. I decided to dig for diamonds. And I told you that, I'm like, if diamonds were just all over the sidewalk and you could sweep them into a dustpan, they'd be worthless, right?
Absolutely.
But they're worth a lot because they're rare and you have to dig for them and it takes time. And that's what lead gen is to me. You're digging for diamonds every day. I look at my $10,000 commission check average and I post it in front of my computer and I go, every day, if I make 3 appointments and cancel 2 and go on 1, I can make $10,000 a day. Who makes that? Doctors don't.
Right.
Don't make what I make. Surgeons, and I'm not that smart. I failed out of math class, for goodness sake. So it's like, when you can take somebody with a little drive and direct them, I think the missing piece is some people just don't have the want. Their back's not against the wall. Maybe their spouse, husband or wife, makes a lot of money. Why am I going to go dig for anything when I'm comfortable?
Absolutely. One of the things that Chuck and I talk about all the time is it drives me crazy when somebody says, I really want fill in the blanks. I want success in real estate. I'm like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Let me tell you how I know you don't want it. You're wishing for it, but you don't want it because you're not willing to do any of the things that it actually takes to get what you want.
Yes, exactly. I mean, you look at football stars and hockey stars and people go, oh, they make so much money. They work their ass off.
That's right.
Work their ass off. They're down to the second of what they can do different. And so, it's like I worked tirelessly with, my ear pods in, listening to scripts over and over. My husband go, what are you listening to again? I'm like, my scripts. Like and my coach would say, look at Brad Pitt and look at Tom Cruise. They get paid $20 million a film. Do they get paid $20 million a film because they suck at their job? No. And when they show up on the set, they know their script. I mean, imagine if the Titanic, if Jim Cameron said, hey, everybody, first day on the set, burn your script books. We're going to ad-lib this story. It's not going to be presented the same way. And so for me, if I have an opportunity to be in front of a customer and I am seasoned and I know what to say and I know how to help them get to where they want, and I can cut through their BS by, navigating that, I could potentially make $10,000. Why wouldn't I take that more seriously? People wing it. I go, why would you wing it?
Absolutely. You have to be when people say they can wing it and they can wing it well, it's not because they can wing it well. It's because they've done it so often, so many times successfully that it feels like you're winging it, but it's actually not true. You've actually taken the steps to master it.
And really, when you're winging it, I was winging it from 2001 to 2007. And my winging it was my script. Now, whose script is better? Somebody who's got, a huge organization with thousands of agents that have made millions of dollars, or my script of winging it? And so the winging it people, if they just understood that if they got more seasoned and practiced more, they could take that natural winging it and turn it into gold.
Yes,
gold.
Fantastic. Right. Gold. Yeah, that drives me crazy too. Somebody says, I'm just a natural. I'm just a natural at winging it. Well, can you imagine if you were like natural at winging it and you put some effort in there? You'd be fantastic.
And I'm a natural at winging it. So now I'm a natural at winging it and armed with, more structure and more focus and more accountability. Great salespeople are typically high eye on the disc. They're just all over the place. They hate schedules. They're winging their life. Yeah. And that's me. I like things to change and be different. I'm like, oh, squirrel, what's going on over there? But I would have to, really dedicate that time to say, okay, 2 hours a day, no distractions, no squirrels. I'm going to move my business forward by doing activities that actually make me money. And it's the crappiest activity, but that's the only activity that makes you money. Everything else is surfacing. Everything.
Yep. I will take somebody who is willing to put in the work and diligence over somebody who's just naturally talented all day long, because that's the difference between excellence and just somebody who can wing it pretty good.
Right. Right. Yeah, absolutely. So
let's hear about, yeah, you're a hard worker. You've got work ethic. Obviously you're personable. You put in the work. Tell me about the things that drive you to keep going. What are the things that you're passionate about in your life that fuel you, that keep you going?
It was always different things. So at first, when I joined the coaching company, it was, I want to make 250,000. So at first it was money, right? Because you never had money growing up. So for me, I had yard sale clothes on the first day of school. I didn't have nice things. So I always knew I wanted to just walk into a Banana Republic. I would say, it was so funny. I want to walk into a Banana Republic, buy anything I want off the shelf. And now I'm like, that's like, a low end compared to others, but I'm still a Banana Republic girl to this day. But you have those smaller goals. And then when you achieve those, you could either get very complacent and stay there, right? And say, you know what, I'm making 250. Nobody in my family's making that. I'm doing really well. But when you start surrounding yourself with people that are making $500,000, 1 million, 2 million, and they're just like you, except they have more time in the game, then you start going, well, I want to make 1 million. And so I think I always put new goals in front of me that meant something to me. I can't pick Angela Fazio's goals. They're not going to be the same. If you want to have a jet plane and I don't, I'm not going to put, I want a jet plane on my dream board, right? It won't mean anything to me. So whether it's, I want to take my family on, I always want to take my family on a 2-week, European vacation. Well, it's going to cost you 25 grand. I mean, you should not be going on a trip like that unless you're making millions of dollars. And so every year, I think if you just really level up and think bigger, like right now, my Thinking Big group, we're saying, what is an idea that we could create in the next 3 years to 4 years that would make us $20 million? Like it's, you have to stretch the mind and really push yourself, even though you might go, I don't know. If you put the thought out there, the idea may come, but none of us ever believe that we can do more. So my ops manager says this all the time. I love her to pieces. She had a rough childhood. And when I met her, I said, what's your income goal? And she said about 175,000 is her dream goal. And I said, you're thinking so small. And she said, I was the first person in her life to ever say that to her, because she's always surrounded herself with people that was a big goal for them. So when you put yourself with bigger thinkers, they push you to think bigger. So now her goal is 1 million. Why not?
Why not? Why not? And you know what? It's the difference between wishing and wanting. So I'm a little older than you. So one of the things that I discovered over time is at first my goal was money too, because I was a school teacher, I had a double master's making less than 30,000, right? And so at first it was money. I wanted money. I had been happy poor. I wanted to know how it felt to be happy, not poor. You know what I mean? And so
probably for security. We want money for security, right? And that's why I wanted.
I actually have to fight the urge to get like 3 of something, because growing up not having, I have to fight the urge of not having like enough, like not having enough, because knowing how that is to not have enough, right? But over time, it's really interesting that I've discovered through prayer, through my relationship with Christ, through my great relationship with my husband, who I am so passionate about marriage. We'll get there. But I've learned that, there's all those things that you can measure with things and money. But Chuck and I learned a really cool lesson over time is if we don't have the whys behind it that have nothing to do with money, that are sustainable over time. And if we're not really sensitive to when we're getting complacent, or when we tend to be backing off a little bit, and we don't ask those hard questions. Why is this happening to me? What's, what aren't we doing that's keeping ourselves on fire and passionate and driving and moving forward? Because that's our personality. We have to stop and say, why? So I know there's a lot of people right now that are paralyzed and stuck. And so we need to take the time to think, why am I feeling this way?
Right, right. Absolutely. I mean, I think you always have to have a bigger goal in your mind. And what is the why? So most humans love, especially salespeople, recognition. That's first. And so recognition, money, and security, I think those are the three somewhat human needs when you read about it in books. And so when I moved to North Carolina, yeah, I wanted to be number one or, recognition, but that was third on the list. It was money, security, and recognition. And my goal is to never be poor again. I don't want to go there, but I can't say I don't want to be poor. I just have to say, no, I'm abundant. I'm abundant in everything around me. Even if the market's bad, it doesn't matter. I'm going to be able to help more people instead of, oh my God, the market's bad, I'm going to lose half my income. No, I'm going to be able to help more people in down times. So it's really shifting what we tell ourselves. And that's what we've gotten good at. Do I get scared and go, oh my God, I could lose everything? I do. Sometimes I have panic attacks about dying because I love my husband so much. We have a great relationship. I have a 15-year-old that I just love, love, love. And you go, my life is going so smooth. Something bad is bound to happen. What if I die in a car crash? And I would have these heart palpitations about dying. And then I got over it because you have to learn again how to get past that crazy time in your world. So yeah, I think we all have the same struggles at times.
I think that we can't be afraid. I play with stuff. I've been playing with this and I need to put them down. I think that we all have obstacles. Like if we think that we don't have, like, I'm not afraid to die. I'd be like, Jesus, I'm ready. But I have my other things, I have my other things that I go, I'm 48 years old and I have a 9-year-old. It's, those kinds of things. Like I'm never going to be an empty nester.
I'm truly not afraid of dying, but it was just, I'm having so much fun. Life is exciting and I'm not ready to be done. Right. So yeah, I think it's, and then, people really don't have a path. So I love, oh God, I'm going to forget his name now. Anyway, I'll think of it. But anyway, he says most people just let life happen to them and they don't realize that they're the captain of their ship. So imagine if you get on a ship and you just go off into the ocean and you don't have direction. The ship's going to crash into something. And so we would never get on a ship or get in our car without knowing where we were going. But why don't we ever sit down and plan out our lives? Why don't we? Right?
Yes, people are lazy. It is a lot of effort to sit down and think through big things like that, but it's worth every second. That's the thing that people who never take the time to take that effort and make that effort and take the time to purposefully think through something, they don't realize that on the other side is this bliss and this satisfaction.
Yeah, well, I mean, nobody's ever taught us that. My parents would say, oh, you'll be lucky if you get married to a nice Greek boy and you can be a wife and have, sit home and cook all day. Like that was my parents' plan for me, was to sit and cook all day for a Greek man. Like that was it.
The first guy who ever asked me to marry him was Greek.
Right.
I was like, no, I know what your family does. No.
And my dad is Greek. My mom's Italian. They both came here in their 20s, so they were, both had accents. So you just go, that was good for them. If I could just be taken care of, their little girl. Right. And I thought, I'll never have that. Then my parents divorced. My mom never had a real job other than taking care of us. So I watched her struggle. I watched my dad have failed businesses over and over and over again. But that taught me that he was an entrepreneur that never gave up. It taught me that that's just natural. You try something. Most people they don't have that entrepreneurial spirit. They want a job, they want security. But the reality for me is a job's never secure because you can be fired. Your business can shut down, but no one can ever fire me now.
You want to do something really interesting that I noticed? I talk to a lot of women. I am so passionate about us women teaching each other to be strong and great wives and all of that, and have an impact on the business that you're doing. And here's what's so interesting. I talk to women who have abundant thinking like you, and I talk to a lot of women who just don't, right? And I'm trying to help them with that. And here's the same thing. An abundant-minded woman looks back on her past, because everybody has stuff in their past.
We all have crappy things in our past, everybody.
Right, of course. An abundant woman looks back on her past and sees all the things she's learned and all of the great examples. And the other women look back on their past and go, well, if that didn't happen to me, if that wouldn't have been part of my life, maybe things would be different. Totally different. Totally different.
stay there. They stay at that level of thinking. And I go, you know, it's all evolution. My grandparents beat their kids, and, you know, and we all evolved. You know, my grandparents were not educated, and we all evolved. And you want to do better than your parents. You want to grow that mindset. They weren't exposed to what we were exposed to. And I'm trying to help even my parents get more, you know, broaden their negative thinking, you know. So it depends on what your tribe taught you, right? If you come from lack, and, you know, their grandparents were telling about the wars and how they had to hoard food and dig holes and live in the ground so the soldiers didn't get them. And then that's what those kids are taught, is fear. And they're giving us fear. And then that's what our tribe teaches us. And then we go on and teach our kids. Well, you have to break free from that at some point and teach your child something else. I hope my son is way more evolved than I can ever be. So yeah.
Okay, let's talk about marriage, because we haven't talked about this at all, you and I, but I can tell that you're passionate about it.
Love it.
Your husband, tell me a little bit about what's going on in your relationship.
So we've been together since we were 16. So we always laugh and say we really grew up more than half our lives together.
Since you were 16?
16. Yeah. So I'm 41. Yeah. So he was my first everything.
That's awesome.
Same for him. Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, what can I say? I mean, we're partners, we're teammates. Do we fight? Yeah. I mean, we have our fights, but not often. I mean, some people fight all the time. If we fight, it's really about, you know, should we move from this house now? I don't want to move again. We've just moved 2 years ago because I love moving. So those are the more life decision fights than bickering. Yeah. But, you know, I always say that my relationship with him is most important because my son joined our relationship. And so we have to show him how to partner up with someone, cohabitate with someone, and we have to be the strongest union. And then, you know, he's going to grow up and take what we taught him and expect that from his mate. So we treat each other with respect. We don't call each other, you know, names. You know, I think some couples do that to be cute, and we just don't. You know, we respect each other in a way where we carve out time for each other. You know, I always laugh and say every man's human need is physical touch. And I think a lot of women miss the boat because we probably could go months without it, without it.
Not this girl.
Well, yeah. I mean, so it's like you have to put that on the schedule, you know. And I've always taken a toll from all my friends. I'm like, once a week is got to be the minimum. So I think, you know, when husbands aren't getting the physical, because that's how they operate, right? So they're physical human beings. We're emotional. So I want him to clean the house or cook dinner. And I go, oh, that's so awesome and romantic. And he would rather do something physical to show that I love him. And so when we don't show physical touch to our husbands, they don't think we love them or care about them. Another thing is putting them up on a pedestal. You know, he puts me on a pedestal, I put him on a pedestal, right? And thank him for a lot of things. So I try to focus on the good. And here's one great example. Living with someone that's not like you, there's a lot of battles, right? So I'm a neat freak and he's not. So I had a mindset shift where I thought one day, I have friends that are slobs. They're messy, right? And so if my husband married a messy woman, they would never talk about the house being messy. But because I'm a neat freak, I'm going to harp on him about how he should be living his life, right? So I was like, that's not fair to him because he's not me. And so now we just always know that in our homes, whenever we buy a new home, he gets to have the side that I don't get to see when I walk in the room, and I don't care what that side looks like anymore. That's his side, right? So I don't bicker about things that are not important. So.
We always say, first of all, I want to go back to something. And you and I have never spoken about this, but it's biblical that the husband and wife are the one, right?
Yeah.
Kids are below parents. Yeah. And you have one child, you've been with your husband forever. I'm on my second marriage before Christ, and he's on a second marriage with me before Christ. So we have his, mine, ours, and theirs, right?
Yeah.
So we have 2 kids from his first marriage, 1 from mine. We have 1 together who's 15 and is delightful. And then we adopted 2. So we have the broadest range possible of situations. And I think that one of the things that helps us through, and believe me, we're not perfect at all, but is he and I are best friends. I have never had one night away from him since we started together in 2001, or one day. Yeah. We go on 5 or 6 dates a week, and all of our kids know they do not come before us in anything. Right. You know what? What's proven is they all have a sense of security because of it. They know mom and dad are great.
Yes. And they want that. They want you to be that way, you know, and we always show affection to each other. We kiss each other. We sit on each other's lap. You know, you want to show your kids that and mimic that. It's okay to be affectionate and a loving family. So yeah, so that was never an issue for us. I always put him before my child. I mean, I love them both differently. And one day my child is going to go off, married, and have his own family that he puts first before us. Right. I got to be ready for that. Good luck with that, lady. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. What wise counsel. One of my favorite things in life is to talk to another woman who cherishes her husband like I cherish mine. That's so fantastic. And one of my goals in life, I've told so many women about, you need to date your husband. You need to put that first. That needs to be your priority under God. You know, God's above that. Kids are below it, and everything else can fall where it may, but you gotta. And then we always say, there are 2 people in that relationship. It's you and him. And you get to choose whether it's amazing and blissful and wonderful, or if it sucks and you're miserable. You get to choose.
And I promise every single person, if they wake up every morning and they look at their spouse, husband or wife, and they focus, and every time they look at them, they think of one positive thing to say. One positive thing they love about their spouse. We always focus on the negative thing. Oh, you're such a slob, or you're so messy, or you're so loud, and I hate that. What do you like about them? So if you both spouses focus on, what do I love about my spouse, even if it's one thing, because I have a lot of friends that are in bad places with their you know, relationships, and it's even hard to be around those friends because it doesn't feel good. But they focus on so many negatives. It's like, what are the positives? Because when I love those 2 human beings as friends, I only see the positives in them. I'm not married to them, but I see so much positive, and they both focus on the negative. So I don't know. I think that would change relationships if we just
absolutely. You guys, if you have not seen that movie, The War Room, have you seen that movie, The War Room?
No.
You need to look it up. It is fantastic for relationships, because any relationship, if the people are willing, can turn around and be amazing. Let's see what comments we have really quick, because I've been totally ignoring everybody. Okay, let's see.
Yeah. And then, I mean, I just died thinking of going out and meeting someone else. Everyone's going to have just different set of baggage. You know, it's hard out there, the dating world.
It is really hard. So, okay. So we've talked about work, and we've talked about kids, and we've talked about passion, and we've talked about marriage. And now we have to talk about something we have really different from each other.
Okay. What is it?
You like golf. I would rather kick spoons and gouge my eyes out.
Check golf?
What?
Is check golf?
No. God, no. God.
Well, you know, it's funny, for the first however many years of our relationship, when Kevin picked up golf, I hated it. In fact, I was like, God, it's 4 hours. You know, I'm stuck here at home with the baby, and you're out there gallivanting around town for 4 hours. It's a long day for them, right? And I never understood it. And he finally bought me a set of clubs in 2009 as a Christmas gift. And I was like, woohoo. So, but I went out, and I think it was my competitive nature. I was so distraught that I could not swing and hit the ball like him. And then that kept my competitive juices flowing. And I hired a golf coach, a swing coach.
Of course you did.
I did, right? Because I believe everyone should have a coach at every point of their life, or have one at some point in their life. And so when I really hit the ball the first time, like beautifully, it will keep you coming back to go find that swing again. And then I realized that I'm peacefully outside for 3 or 4 hours without my phone, without the noise, just me and nature. And it's a game against myself. It's not, you know, a competitive game against someone else. It was almost therapeutic. And then I remember the day I had to apologize to my husband. I'm like, all those years I bitched and moaned about, you know, golf. I'm sorry, I take it back. And then I became the golf fanatic.
That's an awesome story. I feel the same way about working out, which people think I'm crazy about. I have to have that.
Yeah.
That time and that outlet.
Yeah. See, and I don't feel that same way about working out. I hate it. I do it a couple of days a week, but I'm not a fanatic. Don't like it. No.
So Chelsea is listening and she wants to know, what does your husband do? Does he do real
estate too? So he used to be in car sales and was a manager at car dealerships in Michigan. And so when we moved here, he had worked so many hours, 60 hours a week. He never saw our son. Then we decided that we wanted one person to always be available for Michael. And so we're both in real estate and now we're both available for Michael. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I would have it no other way. There's no possible way that Chuck and I could have the success or the joy that we have if we didn't work together in everything that we do.
Yeah. And we, you know, when we first moved here, he was my assistant. That doesn't work. So that's one thing. Very quickly, I got myself an assistant, because to boss your husband around, you know, you're not trying to be like, hey, did you send those emails? Hey, did you call that lady back? It almost sounds like you're barking at them when you're not. You're like, this is how I would ask my assistant. So, but it's hard, that part was different. So we completely severed that, where he did operations and I did the front facing, you know, listing appointment, buyer appointments, and then an assistant as we grew. And we've always kept that separate. So I don't report to him and he doesn't report to me.
Well, yeah, I cannot imagine ever. You guys, could you imagine me going, hey, Chuck, could you make sure that you got this?
No. Yeah, and turning it off at home, it's hard because you know, I have more of a passion for real estate than he does. This was the business he was dragged into. He does not like real estate. So real estate is the vehicle for us to have, you know, money, of course, and that's our business, but it's not his passion. So I have to really learn to turn it off when we get home.
Yeah, what's interesting is what Chuck and I discovered is it's not real estate that we're passionate about, although that's what we're doing and what we love. What we're passionate about is building. We love building things. We love coaching people to success. We love having a challenge and a problem and overcoming it and fixing it. We like doing things differently than other people. So you can have a career that maybe it in and of itself isn't the thing, but you can apply all the things that you're passionate and talented in to that career and be really happy.
Yes. And that's the same thing for me. I get bored. So I think that's why I was, you know, we were at Remax for a long, long time. And then we moved to Keller to grow the team. And I think for me, you know, moving over to EXP now, it was kind of the challenge. It's like, could I get people under me, my organization, my team, could I get them to build something for themselves that they'll thank me for one day?
Yeah, that's cool.
What's happening. So it's kind of
cool. That drives me as well. It does.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to leave it off with, if you had to give the ladies some advice, whether it be personal or work related, I think I already know what you might say, but what would be your biggest piece of advice to these ladies?
You know, they're all in real estate. I think real estate is so up and down in emotion, right? We have to be so strong for our sellers, and it's, you know, it's never a sure thing when you're dealing with, I guess the inconsistencies that real estate brings. So I would say to them, you know, really try to make it a business, focus on growing the business in the morning. That should be 2 to 3 hours a day of growing the business, making some outbound calls so you know exactly what's coming in. I know if I make 15 contacts, I get a listing. I just know that. So I love knowing that I can generate and I don't have to tolerate. I don't have to take customers on that I don't like. I just go, nah, it's not a good fit. So I don't have commission breath anymore. When you generate, you don't have to commission breath. Yeah, right? Because I don't need the listing. So I don't have to deal with rotten people, because there are some rotten people out there. So I think if you really treat it as a business and do the hard work, you know, you should have a passion for it, and you should always be studying it, watching podcasts, learning and growing your skills. Especially if you're a natural. If you're a natural, you can dominate. If you're not a natural, if you're an analytical and you're really reserved and low on emotion and kind of insecure and you don't like people that much, but you're a great agent, take acting classes, make yourself uncomfortable, be versatile. Because I think if you're just only, you know, one personality style, you're only going to get those people that are attracted to you. But if you're versatile, then you'll have a plethora of people that might want to work with you. So
that's good advice. And somebody wants to know what Stephanie Mainville wants to know. Hi, Steph. What is your #1 lead generating source?
Number one source for us is expireds for sale by owners, just listed, just sold. So that's free. Basically, other than a dialer, it's the cheapest lead you can get. So right now, I know people were really excited. I did a little script for my team, and it just goes like this. I'll read it because I think people are like, what do we say during these times? So I just call and I say, hey, it's Tina Caul. I'm a local real estate advisor. I'm just trying to keep myself sane during the quarantine. And I'm just reaching out to check on neighbors and friends. How are you guys doing through all of this? And they usually say either, who are you again? Or they'll say, oh, well, yeah, we're doing fine. Well, that's great to hear. There's so much happening in our world right now. It's just so different every day. And I'm just wondering if you had any real estate related questions. And at that point, it opens up the conversation and they might say, well, how's the market? And then you kind of give them your spiel on the market. So just reach out to people, build your database. You don't have to go show houses right now, but if you have a pipeline and you have a buyer that is ready to go out, but you're not, refer that out. Make 25% while you're sitting at home. Make 35%. You can refer out at 35% right now. So keep doing something versus just sitting at home watching the news in fear. Move the needle forward and think of creative ways to keep your pipeline growing.
Absolutely. I think I don't know who said that. So maybe you said this was if you were making 10 calls before, you need to be making 30 calls now. You need to be upping your prospecting efforts, not sitting home paralyzed.
Yeah. If you were making 5 calls a day or 5 contacts a day, you need to be making 3-4 times that, because
absolutely
lower amount of sellers, lower amount of buyers, and lower amount of agents. So it's kind of an even playing field right now. And if you're not doing the work that it's going to take, there's someone else out there doing the work like me. I made 3 appointments this morning. So I'm still moving the needle forward. When this market shakes out a little bit, I'm going to have so many people, I might need to hire more agents.
That's right. And there's the biggest mistake real estate agents are making right now. They are saying to themselves, nobody's buying, nobody's selling. There's nothing to do. I'm just going to wait till this is over. Then I'm going to get back on the phone or do whatever. Right now is the very, very best time in these circumstances to be a real person, reaching out to people, being a good listener, filling the need of people who are feeling lonely or scared, and building your pipeline. It's having massive action right now, not paralyzed fear.
Yes, exactly. Because this could happen again. I mean, we could have another, and I told my team, I said, we have to be, cautious of germs and things like that. But the reality is we can't live our lives in fear forever. We can't walk around with masks for the next 1.5 years because we might catch another virus. So I think that, we really just have to push ourselves forward mentally and keep doing our job, keep some normalcy in that daily activity.
Well, thank you very much. You are one of the people that can help keep encouragement alive, help keep spirits up, the mindset right. And I have enjoyed every minute of our call today. And I know our listeners have too. So thank you for your time, Tina.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I'll talk to you again.
Bye.